This meeting is being recorded.
Right, it's 9 o'clock. I guess let's get started. Thank you everybody for joining. Like I said, it's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Esther, can you take roll, please?
Here in attendance, we have board members, Chair Don Mende, Vice Chair Gary Mackler, Director Carol Ryman, Director Sean Sasaki, and Designee Gloria Cheng.
I think Mike just joined in too.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
Hello, Mike McCartney. I'm here.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning. Oh, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Okay, so we have quorum. For one thing, I need to mention, board member, is there anyone present at your various locations? If so, could you please identify them now? Hearing none. Okay, very good. We'll proceed with the announcements regarding the Act 220 Session Laws of Hawaii 2021, which became effective January 1st, 2022. Andy, can you explain that, please?
Sure. So the legislature enacted some revisions, additions, amendments to Chapter 92, which governs the conduct of board meetings. So it will affect our board meetings, and it generally allows more flexibility to state agencies to allow for remote, for members to attend remotely. One aspect of the law that was suspended, at least for now until February 28th, is the requirement that there be one public location available. Due to the COVID numbers, the governor through an EP has suspended that requirement under 220. ESSA and I will bear in mind when that exception is lifted. But just to go real quickly, what is going to be required during the meetings going forward under Act 220 is that the board members, a quorum of them, but we ask that everyone participating be visible and audible at all times during the meeting. So that just applies to board members. Also, after roll is taken, the chair will be asking if anybody is present at the board members' location. This would not include like family members that might be in the background or dogs or whatnot. We did get clarification from OIP. It's people who are participating, listening in alongside the board member. This is for purposes of transparency, so the public knows who may or may not be in attendance with the board members. Any votes must be taken by roll call unless unanimous. So this agency has already been doing it. The chair has been calling for votes. If it's unanimous, he asks if there's any objection. If none, then that's fine. If there is somebody who's going to vote no, then he will have to do a roll call vote by individual board members. And finally, just in general, if a board member has any problems staying connected, we have shared information as to who they can contact with HHFDC staff. I'm not going to announce that publicly. That's for board members who have trouble staying connected. There is the law states that if you want to remain connected and you can't, there has to be a suspension of the meeting for a period of time for us to try and get connectivity back with that particular board member. This does not apply to the public. If the public has problems staying connected, unless it's our YouTube stream, that's not an issue that the state has to deal with. And then there are specific rules under exec session, but we will deal with those rules if and when we go into exec session. Anybody have any questions?
No, I don't.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Okay, moving over to item 2 on the agenda, approval of 2A, excuse me, approval of the regular minutes for the December 9th meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Gloria. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Gary. Any discussion? Any? No, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 2B, approval for the executive session minutes for the meeting of December 9th, 2021. Can I get a motion, please?
I move.
Thanks, Sean. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Gary. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to call upon Francis to go over the public testimony guidelines, followed by anyone who would like to provide any oral testimony on matters directly related to the agenda items today. Francis, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Chair Mendy. Instructions. So anyone wishing to provide oral testimony should indicate that to the chair. And oral testimony will be limited to 3 minutes, subject to the discretion of the chair. Oral testimony must be on a matter that is on the board agenda. Therefore, as you begin your oral testimony, you should identify yourself, spell your name for the record, and indicate what agenda item you are testifying on. It's my understanding that oral testimony for any and all matters on the board agenda will be taken at this time. And finally, for anyone wishing to submit only written testimony, instructions for doing so are on the front page of our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. I guess, is there anyone that wants to submit any oral testimony at this time? I haven't yet seeing none. Let's move over to item 3, discussion. 3A, this item is to accept the audited financial statements of the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2021.
Move to accept.
Thanks, Gary. Can I get a sec? Thanks, Gloria.
Happy New Year, everyone. Good to see that everyone is safe and healthy. Good morning, Chair Mende, Vice Chair Mackler, and members of the board. I'm Holly Osumi, CFO of HHFDC. This morning, I'll be presenting the facts and discussions of the audited financial statements for the fiscal year end June 30, 2021 on PowerPoint. I will attempt to share screen. Are you able to see the screen with the cover sheet of the presentation?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Okay, before I begin, I really wanted to put out my disclaimer that this presentation is a summary of facts and discussion points prepared specifically for this presentation and does not represent a complete financial statement. Therefore, if you need to see the completed financial statements, it is available in the board materials as well as on our HHFDC website. Okay, the agenda will be including the auditor reports, financial statements, subsequent events, and conclude with questions or comments. So in the first audit report, the report of independent auditors Our auditors, Acuity LLP, rendered an unmodified opinion, which is basically a clean opinion, saying that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the corporation's financial statements of the governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information and the respective changes in financial position and where applicable cash flows thereof for the year then ended in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The next report, let's see. This report on internal controls also rendered an unmodified opinion. They did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls that are considered material weaknesses in respect to the limited purposes. In this report of independent auditors, let's see, did I go over that one? On internal controls, there were no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. In this report, let's see. Acuity opined that the corporation complied in all material respects with the types of compliance required as described in the OMB compliance supplement that could have a direct and material effect on the corporation's major federal programs for the year ended June 30, 21. Okay, the financial statements is comprised of two types of funds. The first being the governmental funds, which are comprised of funds that are primarily financed with public funds. The second type is the proprietary funds, and these are enterprise funds which are used to account for activities for which the intent is to recover primarily through user charges the cost of providing services to the public and customers. Before I go take a deeper dive into the financial statements, I wanted to talk about three significant transactions and activities that occurred during the fiscal year. The first being the Coronavirus Relief Fund and Rental Assistance and Mediation. Both are governmental funds. This included the program which we refer to as the Housing Relief and Resiliency Program, as mandated in Act 9, Session 20, where we administered the rent relief program, as well as a rental assistance and mediation program, RAMP, which we received funding from Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. In aggregate, these two programs, we received and expended $71.7 million during fiscal year 21. The second major transaction was the sale of Kamakei Vista, which was the sixth property of our portfolio sale. The sale was for $34.6 million, for which we received a recognized gain of $31 million. The sales proceeds, part of the proceeds were used to fund a DERF loan of $10 million to the buyer, as well as funded rental assistance subsidy in the amount of $3.9 million. The third significant transaction was the General Obligation Bond Fund, where we received $300 million in state allotted appropriations. And that was in accordance with Act 4 as well as Act 189. So let me take us some time to go over Act 4 and 189 because that's such a significant amount. So I'm not sure if you can see the numbers here, it might be small, so my apologies for that. I wanted to show a side-by-side financial statements with the balance sheet on the left side, as well as the statement of activities on the right-hand side. And because of the transactions were so large, it really influenced and fluctuated a lot of our balances and activities. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this. So the first step was with Act 4. It mandated the transfer of 200 million from the Rental Housing Revolving Fund to the state's Emergency and Budget Reserve Fund. Although the act was dated July 6, 20, which is subsequent to fiscal year 20, it was retroactive to June 29, 20. So we needed to record an accrual or a liability due to other state departments. And that increased our current liabilities at that time, as well as increased our expenses. And so this is what happened in fiscal year 20. In fiscal year 21, so step 2, that's when the corporation dispersed the 250 million from the Rental Housing Revolving Fund to the EBRF. And what happened is it reduced the liability as well as cash balance. Then soon after that, Act 4 authorized the Director of Finance to issue Geo Bonds of the same amount, so 250 million, to be deposited into the Rental Housing Revolving Fund during fiscal year 21. So accordingly, the corporation received and recorded the 250 million in our Geo Bond Fund. So that occurred in 2 steps. So let's see, the corporation received the Geo Bonds in the Geo Bond Fund, which is our governmental fund, which effectively recognized the revenue in the state allotted appropriations and increased the cash balance. Then soon after that, the corporation had to transfer the money to the Rental Housing Revolving Fund, which is a proprietary fund, which effectively reduced the cash in the Geo Bond Fund and recorded a transfer out. Whereas in the Rental Housing Revolving Fund, the cash balance increased by the 250 million and recorded a transfer in. So because of those transactions, I'll be mentioning Act 4 and Act 1 and 189 and throughout the presentation. And Act 189 is very similar, but this one was a 50 million cash infusion into the Rental Housing Revolving Fund as appropriated through Act 189 in session 2019. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if not, I'm moving forward. Okay. So this slide shows the government-wide statements of activities over a 5-year trend. Let's see. So essentially, we have in 21, we have recognized revenues of 463 million in comparison to expenses of 103 million. And that is largely a result of what I was explaining earlier, that 300 million that we received through Act 4 and Act 189. As far as trending of revenues, the spike in 2018 was a result of the 200 million appropriation that we received for housing in session 2018. Expenditure stayed relatively level 2017 through 2019, but in 2020 it went up, and that was because of Act 4 of the 250 million that we accrued. Also in 21, expenses increased because of the coronavirus rent relief program. Next is the net position 5-year trend. Let's see. So this graph depicts the trends of assets, liabilities, and net position over the last 5 years. Assets is at an all-time high as of June 30, 21 at $1.6 billion. Whereas the liabilities are very low at 96 millions, resulting in a healthy net position of $1.5 billion. In 2019, you'll see a dip in both the assets and liabilities, and that is a result of GASB 91, where we recognized, or I should say de-recognized, conduit bond activity. So activity that does not, the agency or the corporation is not held liable for. So GASB 91 standard required that we take that off the face of the financial statements. And as a whole, liabilities, we should be seeing a decline mainly as a result of the bond programs where we've been paying down the bonds over time. So I'll go more in depth as I go over each bond program. So these are the governmental funds. Most of these should look familiar to you. The only two new programs are the Coronavirus Relief Fund, funded by the Treasury, and Rental Assistance Mediation Program, which was funded by Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. So these are the descriptions of each of the governmental funds. The only inactive fund would be the Tax Credit Assistance Program. That was a program where we were authorized to issue loans, and which were done in 2010. And those are not due to in 2040, so quite a long time from now. But otherwise, all of the other funds are very active. Okay, for the remainder of the presentation, transfers in are included in revenues in these charts, and transfers out are included in expenses. It's just for illustration purposes for this presentation. So this slide represents the governmental funds, assets, liabilities, and fund balances. So as you see, the assets in 21 is quite high, but I should say level with 20 in comparison to the liabilities, which is very typical. As far as for, let's see. So the assets are pretty level in the 2 years, and liabilities are very low. So in this particular slide, you see that revenues and expenses are really driven by the Geo Bond Fund. And that is from the state allotted appropriations. In 21, the CRF fund was the second largest program, and that was due to the coronavirus rent relief program, as well as the REMP. Okay, next is our proprietary funds. So on the first line, it comprises the major funds, and the second row is the non-major funds. The proprietary funds are used to account for activities for which the intent of management is to recover primarily through user charges, the cost of providing services to the public and customers. These funds must be closely managed as the funds are self-sustaining by the income such as rent, fees, as well as conveyance taxes and cash infusions from the Geo Bond Funds. Therefore, it's imperative that management be fiscally prudent to monitor the expenses to ensure the sustainability of these funds. So this slide compares the total revenues and expenses in fiscal year 20 to 21. The significant increases in revenues in 21 is related to the Act 4, as well as the expenses that appear in 2020 related to Act 4. So in this slide, the proprietary funds revenues are shown in the green pie as compared to the expenses in the blue pie. So the revenue, 79% of the revenues are comprised of the transfers in, 8% of the revenues from conveyance taxes, and 8% from the gain on the sale of Kamakei Vista. As far as expenses, 44% is comprised of program expenses mainly from the development activities from DERF, 32% of admin and personnel charges, and 13% is transfers out from DERF to Rental Assistance Revolving Fund. This shows the side-by-side by each fund, the revenues versus expenses. As far as proprietary funds, assets, liabilities, and net position, again, it shows that Rental Housing Revolving Fund is really the driver of funds in the proprietary fund, secondary to DERF being the second largest fund. So taking a deep dive into each of the major proprietary funds, the first being Rental Housing Revolving Fund. So this fund accounts for state funds, repayment of financing and interest earnings from the financing and investments of such funds to provide developers of qualified rental housing projects with loans or grants for the development, pre-development, construction, acquisition, preservation, and rehab of rental housing units. In accordance with the statutes, the fund also incurs administrative expenses such as personnel costs, legal, consulting that are directly related to time and resources necessary to carry out the purposes of providing rental housing units. So Rental Housing Revolving Fund assets and liabilities. Again, a lot of these balances were influenced by Act 189, Act 4 and 189. The assets for fiscal 21 is comprised of 56% or 583 million of loans receivable and accrued interest, which is an increase of 78 million over last year's balances. Second, we have 403 million or 41% of cash and investments in the state treasury, an increase of 8.7 million over last year's balances. As of June 30, 21, you see that the liabilities are very minimal, And it really decreased back to the normal level because in 2020, the liability was a result of Act 4, 250 million. The rental housing revolving fund revenues and expenses. Again, it's influenced by Act 4 as well as Act 189 with the 300 million of state allotted appropriations in the 21 revenues. And as far as 20 expenses, you see the 250 million. As far as conveyance taxes, which is another major source for this fund, it basically stayed level at about 31 million for the 2 years. In the past years, we did receive the maximum cap of 38 million. And I'm actually happy to report that for fiscal year 22, we already received the 30 million for the year. The next proprietary fund is a dwelling unit revolving fund. And this fund accounts for state funds used for acquiring, developing, selling, leasing, and renting residential, commercial, and industrial properties and providing mortgage and interim financing, rental income, sales proceeds, and interest earnings from the financing and investments of such funds. So as mentioned earlier, DERF is the second largest proprietary fund. Net position increased by 22 million to 424 million from 403 million. The increase in net position and assets were primarily the result of the one-time gain on the sale of the leasehold interest of Kamakei Vista. The liabilities remain fairly flat. During 21, DERF did not receive any cash infusions, where in comparison to prior year, we received a large amount of cash infusions. So that's why the revenues did decrease in 21. As far as expenses, it did increase due to various development projects such as Kahalu Emergency Housing Projects, Puoloke Ohana Zone, Iwilei Master Plan, and Waihole Valley, the flood damage. And there was also a one-time transfer out of 3.9 million to the Rental Assistance Revolving Fund for the rental subsidies. And that was essentially funded by the proceeds from the sale of Kamakei Vista. The next proprietary fund is a single-family mortgage purchase bond fund. And this fund accounts for the proceeds from the issuance of bonds used to make below market interest rate mortgage loans and the repayment, interest, and earning from such loans and investments of such funds. Essentially, the single family fund is comprised of 3 bond series, 2013 being the most current bond issuance. In the near future, we do not have any plans to issue any new bonds, and it's as a result of interest rates being very low. So there is really no need for the agencies to step in and to provide such. You will see a continued decline in liabilities as we continue to pay down the bond redemptions. And as a subsequent event disclosure, we did pay off the bond series 2009-2011 on July 1st, 2021, right after the fiscal year end. So the liabilities will greatly decrease next year. as well as the cash used to fund these redemptions. And as a result of the redemptions of these bonds, revenues will also decline. Also with the cash payouts, the interest earned on those funds will also decrease. The next fund is a Housing Finance Revolving Fund. So the Housing Finance Revolving Fund was created to be used for long-term and other special financing provided by the corporation. The fund also accounts for monies received and collected by the corporation, not otherwise pledged or obligated, nor required by law to be placed in another proprietary fund. This fund is the backbone of the financing operations of the corporation and is also the catch-all for financing activities not accounted for in the other established finance revolving funds, such as the Rental Housing Revolving Fund or Revenue Bond Funds. Therefore, programs such as the Low Income Housing Tax Credit, as well as the LIHTC loan program, Kahana loans, mortgage credit certificate program are accounted for in this fund. So as far as the assets, notes and loan receivable balances comprised of 4.7 million of LIHTC loans, which are due in a long, due in 2073. So well beyond hopefully my retirement. As well as Kahana Valley loans, which have a balance of about 200,000. And these have been declining as payments have been made. Liability comprised of deposits held from the good faith deposits. So the good faith deposits are what we retain as deposits is 40% of the good faith deposit. Beginning January 2022, that amount would decrease. We will be withholding 20% of the deposits. And these deposits are refundable to the developers when the project is completed or ready for occupancy. Housing Finance Revolving Fund revenues and expenses. So revenues are comprised of LIHTC application fees, administrative fees, the good faith deposit that we don't keep as a security deposit is revenue. So it's 60% currently, and later in 22, it's going to be 80%. The MCC revenues decreased slightly just by about 200,000 in comparison to the prior year, but there still is a strong demand for that as far as refinancing or reissuing the certificates as a result of the surge in mortgage refinancing in the marketplace. There's a decline in LIHTC revenues, and that is a result of the less or decreased awards of LIHTC that occurred in fiscal year 20. If you recall, we did not have a funding round, so that caused a decrease in the LIHTC issuances and resulting in lower revenues. Rental Assistance Revolving Fund accounts for the rental assistance subsidies provided to qualified owners to assist eligible tenants who live in rental housing development and to provide for interim construction financing for rental housing projects. This fund is not a major fund. However, it's being discussed due to its large asset balance. The fund does provide rental subsidies, and as a result of the Kamakei Vista sale, it did receive a transfer in of 3.9 million. And essentially, payments are a result of reporting by qualified projects for tenants that are eligible to receive subsidy. So in this slide, you see the 3.9 million in revenues. Normally, the revenues are comprised mainly of interest income earned on the funds. There is one loan in this particular fund that was just recently refinanced. So we'll also be earning interest income from that as well. It is a legacy loan. The subsequent events. The corporation has been tasked to administer the Homeowners Assistance Fund, or HAF, for the Honolulu residents. The corporation recently contracted the Council of Native Hawaiian Advancement to handle all aspects of the program administration, which will be deployed this month to provide mortgage relief to Honolulu households that were adversely impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. Further financial highlights are available in the management's discussion and analysis section of the audited financial statements on pages 4 to 14 of the audit report, as included in the materials are available on our website. HHFDC staff recommends that the corporation's board of directors accept the audited financial statements of the corporation for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2021. Present today, we have the auditors from Acuity, Don Nakamura and Nicholas Miyamoto. And we really would like to thank them for their professionalism and sharing knowledge and standards information throughout the audit. So I really would like to thank them for that. Staff are happy to answer any questions. I'm sure Don and Nicholas can also answer questions as well. Do you folks have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Holly. Any of the board members have any questions? Nope.
Chair, I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I just want to extend my thanks and I guess everyone's thanks for the work the staff did to implement the new programs for coronavirus relief in a very short time frame, to establish new programs and to expend $70 million up through June 30 of 2021. I think they did an outstanding job, and I think this audit reflects that. So thank you to all.
Thanks, Gary.
Don or Nicholas, did you folks want to say anything?
No, thank you, everyone. We appreciate the opportunity to perform the audit. And we also would like to thank the HHFDC staff for all of their assistance throughout the audit. It is a pretty clean audit compared to some other entities that we audit. So we really appreciate all of their hard work in getting everything ready and providing support throughout the audit. So thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I definitely agree. Thanks, Holly, and all your staff. I mean, I know the amount of work that you guys put in for not only the report, but for all the programs that we provide. If there's nothing else, I guess there's almost the top of the hour. Does anyone want to, shall we take a break for 5 minutes? Yeah, come back at 9:50.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What's up? You gotta go inside. I mean, I can. Do you want me to? I can. Wait, I mean,
Just waiting for Gloria, right? Oh, there she is.
Sorry,
No, no problem. I get. Thank you. You know what? I think we forgot to vote before we went on break. So
you did,
before-
you did. Yeah, you need to accept the financial statements.
yeah. So we had a first and a second. So I guess any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 3B. So this was to appoint as executive director to serve as secretary pro tem after Rob Van Tassel's sudden departure. Any discussion?
Well, Chair, I would like to make a motion to elect Sean Sasaki as the board secretary.
Oh, okay. Motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carol. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Congratulations, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. I hope I do a good job.
All right. So moving on to item 3C. What is the long one? This is to update the request for proposals for one, the 690 Puhukaina Affordable Housing Project located in Honolulu, Oahu, TMK 121051041 portion of. Two, the northwest corner of the Villages of Kapolei project located in Kapolei, Oahu, TMK 191016035 portion of. Three, the Kahului Civic Center mixed-use complex project located in Kahului, Maui, TMK 237004003 portion of, and four, Village 8 and 9 acres, 8 to 9 acres parcels at the Villages of Kapolei project located in Kapolei, Oahu, TMK 191140159. Okay. This is just discussion, right?
Comments?
We need a motion.
Yeah.
No.
No? Oh,
Okay. Hello and good morning, board chair and members of the board. Randy Chu here, along with the development section staff, to present to you a status report on the 4 active RFPs that we're presently working on. As the board chair indicated, the 4 RFPs are 690 Pohukaina Affordable Housing, 2 Kapolei Northwest Corner, 3 Kahului Civic Center Mixed-Use Complex, and 4 Kapolei Village 8 9-acre parcel. At this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to the Housing Development Specialist who will be coordinating the RFPs to provide you a summary of the project details.
okay. I'm going to share the screen. All right, can someone confirm they can see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So hi, I'm Albert Palmer. I'm a housing development specialist. I'm going to present this first RFP for 690 Pohukaina Affordable Housing Project. The project is located on state land, which was set aside to HHFDC by executive order. A portion of the land was previously used for the Halikavila Place project, and the remainder of the site is what's being used for the current project. The RFP is just for the residential component and the parking component, which is the blue area that you see here at the top of the conceptual site plan, which will include also the parking for the Department of Education, DOE. The red area below it, more or less, is being reserved for DOE to build their school in the future. And this site plan is just conceptual, so the exact division of the site is to be determined in consultation with DOE. And the RFP was published on November 17th last year, and proposals are due on March 15th this year. The RFP scope, the RFP will include creating a master site plan for the whole site, but is only for the development of the affordable housing and parking components on the blue portion of the site, which will be leased to the developer for 75 years. The site is in the HCDA Kaka'ako Malka area, height limit 400 foot, build to lines are 5 feet to 10 feet. We did not specify an exact unit count in the RFP, but we are expecting proposals will contemplate between 400 and 600 units. This slide shows one example of a possible site design from a previous conceptual design that DOE had, but it is not a preferred design. The developers have freedom to propose their own site design as long as DOE's portion of the property remains adjacent to Mother Waldron Park, as shown on the preceding conceptual site plan. The final design for the site will be determined as part of the master planning process with a successful offer and DOE following award of the RFP.
Good morning, my name is Stan Fujimoto. I'm a project manager with Development Section. The northwest corner parcel is located at the northwest corner of HHFDC's villages of Kapolei in Kapolei, Oahu. The parcel is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Fort Barrett Road and Farrington Highway. In general, if you can see the marker, the villages of Kapolei is this general area. This is Farrington Highway. This is Fort Barrett Road. This is like the lower channel, drainage channel. This is the golf course. So the northwest corner is in this northwest corner. The property is approximately 27.6 acres and is zoned BMX3 with a height limit of 60 feet. In 2021, a CPR was created at the northwest corner for the development of the Hawaii State Veterans Home Project. The Veterans Home Project is under construction on approximately 7 acres at the southeast corner of the parcel under a 99-year ground lease from HHFDC to the State of Hawaii Department of Defense. The Veterans Home Project is approximately 30% complete. So this is the general parcel, and the Veterans Home Project is in this southeast corner. This is Kalanani Avenue, Farrington Highway, and Fort Barrett Road on the left. The balance of the site is approximately 19.5 acres. On December 3rd, 2021, the City and County of Honolulu approved HHFDC's sewer connection application for 400 multifamily dwelling units and 150,000 square feet of shopping center use at the northwest corner. A master site development plan for the northwest corner parcel is required as a condition of the rezoning done in 2021. This is a site plan submitted to the city for the Veterans Home Project. The Veterans Home site plan illustrates one concept of how the site could be developed. In general, if you can see my cursor, retail would be along Fort Farrington Highway, low density multifamily, 2-story low density multifamily. On the south side, next to the existing Kumuiki subdivision, and a little mock of that would be 4-story multifamily along this area. And farther mock out towards the center portion of the parcel, This shows 6-story multifamily housing. And this is like a central plaza area. We are working on development parameters for an RFP for the remainder property at the northwest corner.
Good morning. My name is Sari Burhanu, and I'm a housing development here at HHFDC. I'll be presenting the next two RFPs. I'll start with the Kahului Civic Center Mixed-Use Complex project. The project site is located on state land in Kahului along the Ka'umanu Community Corridor, which is Maui's COD effort connecting Kahului and Wailuku. The project proposes affordable housing to be developed by HHFDC and office space for the Department of Accounting and General Services. The space for DAGs will also include space for the Department of Education's adult schools and the library. Next slide, please. This is a close-up of the project site, which is indicated in the area that is shaded in yellow. The project site is bound by Ka'umanu Avenue, Kane Street, Vivau Street, and School Street. The site has a land area of 5.5 acres. However, 0.85 acres of it is dedicated for the new Maui bus hub. You can see this area that's dedicated to the bus hub in the bottom right image. So the land area for the project, after removing the area for the transit hub, is 4.72 acres. Next slide, please. We are currently working on the draft environmental assessment, which will be published on January 23, 2022. To the left, you'll see the concept site plan that is prepared for purpose of the draft environmental assessment. This concept site plan proposes two different 6-story structures for the affordable housing component along Ka'umanu Avenue and sites the structures for DAGs at the corner of Kane Street and Vivau Street. We are planning to publish the RFP at the same time that the final environmental assessment gets published this year. Next slide, please. For the RFP, we're proposing 150 to 300 units, 38,000 square feet of office space for DAGs, 16,000 square feet for the library, 7,000 square feet for the adult school, 5,000 square feet of commercial space for a total floor area of 390,000 square feet, which is less than the allowable floor area of 485,000. With the RFP, we expect the selected developer to prepare a master site plan for the entire project site, but design and build only the affordable housing component. As indicated in the left image, bottom left image, our concept proposal consists of the two mid-rise structures for the housing components and one structure for the DAGs component. Okay, this is the end of the Kahului RFP. I'll move on to the next one. Okay, now I'll be presenting the RFP proposal for Village 8, 9-acre parcel. If you go to the next one, please. Thank you. The project site for this RFP is located within the villages of Kapolei. It is the area that is shaded in the light yellow as shown in the image on the left. It is bound by Kapolei Parkway, Painako Street, and Kama Avenue. It is adjacent to the Kapolei High School. This project site, which is zoned R3.5 and has a land area of 9 acres. The next slide, please. Okay, the RFP will be for the planning, design, and construction of affordable housing. We currently have a sewer connection approval for 50 single-family dwelling units, and we are aiming to get the RFP published as well as select a developer this year. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Albert, Stan, and Sari. At this time, we're available to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thanks. Does any of the board members have any questions?
Oh, sure.
No? All right, thank you for those presentations. Very informative. Moving on to item 3D, discussion on the Home American Rescue Plan program.
Good morning, Chair Mindy, members of the board. My name is Sam Iona, loan specialist who I have with me, Glory Inafuku, who is in charge of our federal programs, and also Terry Higa is from the planning section. We're here to do a for information for the Home American Rescue Plan program. So last year, the American Rescue Plan appropriated $5 billion for the home, what we call Home ARP program, Home American Rescue Plan program. State of Hawaii is going to get $6.4 million. And so this Home ARP program is to benefit individuals who were affected by the homelessness, who are affected by circumstances, what we call the qualifying populations. Qualifying populations are homeless, at risk of homelessness, those fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, and veterans and families, including a veteran family member that meet the above criteria. So we went out and talked to the various counties, nonprofits, and county housing officials. And there are 4 eligible uses for the Home ARP funds: tenant-based rental assistance, provision of supportive services, acquisition and development of non-congregate shelters. However, all the counties and the service providers, what we call the COCs, we all agreed that the funding should be for development and support of affordable rental housing. So HHFDC is putting together an allocation plan to assist those communities that we're serving with the development and support of affordable rental housing. That's what we're going to be using this $6 million for. We issued a Home ARP notice in September of last year, or HUD did, and the funds, by the way, is going to have to be spent by September of 2030. So we have some time to spend these funds, but the counties do. The Home ARP allocation plan that Carrie in the planning section is putting together. We are again in discussions with all of our neighbor island entities and putting together this plan. We will be coming back to the board. This is a for information only, just to advise you of what's going on. And we'll be back at the board meeting in March to approve for you folks to approve the allocation plan. The other thing is that after today, we're going to have a 15-day comment period for people, nonprofits, and counties to give their input, and then we're going to put together the plan after that. We've been in, like I said, we've been in consultation with the counties and the various service providers, and so everyone is in agreement that we're going to be using these funds to provide supportive housing. Do you have anything else? We can take any questions at this time.
All right, thanks, Sam. Is there any questions from the board? Yes, hi, Mark.
Hello, I just wanted to say hello to Sam Iona and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Director.
Thanks, Mike. Okay. I don't have any question. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 4. But before we move on to item 4, I just want to say for the record, going forward, the board shall use proper terminology of the Permitted Interaction Group, or PIG, instead of subcommittee when forming an investigative group with a specific purpose or responsibility. So moving on to item number 4, this is for the findings of the Waiahole Valley Strategic Plan Subcommittee, or Permitted Interactive Group.
Good morning, Chair Mende, Vice Chair Mackler, and board members. I'm Dean Minakami, Development Branch Chief. This for information and the subcommittee report in your meeting materials provides a summary of the findings of the Waiahole Valley Strategic Plan Subcommittee, which, as Chair Mende indicated, is a PIG, a Permitted Interaction Group, and not a standing subcommittee. Since you all have the subcommittee report, I won't go over it in detail. I will provide a brief overview of the subcommittee's purpose and why we are bringing this before you today. The subcommittee was formed on June 13th, 2019. At that time, HHFDC's consultant, which was SMS Research and Marketing Services, had prepared a strategic plan for the Waiahole Valley community. In response to that plan, the community formed its own plan. And the SMS plan and community plan had many similarities, but they also had some different perspectives on management of the Waiahole community. The purpose of the subcommittee was to investigate key issues raised by the plans and to ensure that priority items in terms of infrastructure, leases, and agricultural production were addressed. When the subcommittee was first formed, it was thought that a revised plan reconciling the SMS plan and the community-based plan could be prepared in short order, maybe 3 to 6 months. However, the need to procure a new consultant and the onset of the pandemic, which restricted in-person public meetings, greatly hampered this work. In Waiahole, meeting face-to-face is very important. So virtual meetings did not work for many of the community members, so that really slowed the progress of the work. So although our reconciled strategic plan is still a work in progress, the subcommittee did make significant progress toward investigating the underlying issues relating to infrastructure, and in particular the water system, and also lease-related and agricultural production-related issues. The findings are presented in the subcommittee report, and the report does not provide recommendations because we still anticipate that a reconciled strategic plan will be prepared later this year. So we don't want to preclude the recommendations of the forthcoming plan. As described in section 3 of the report, current status, the Department of the Attorney General and Office of Information Practices have advised that the board may wish to consider dissolving the subcommittee because staff will be bringing a number of action items relating to the Waiahole community in the near future. And the problem is that because subcommittee meetings are not open to the public, staff should not discuss issues relating to action items with the subcommittee before it issues its findings and recommendations. So instead, it's recommended that matters or all matters pertaining to Waiahole be discussed in board meetings. In closing, even if the subcommittee is dissolved, staff is committed to working with the committee to resolve the issues relating to infrastructure, leases, and agricultural production. And we will update the board at future meetings or whatever format that the board desires. And thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, does anybody have any questions? Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Dean, I just wanted to thank you and the staff for all your help and hard work. And the community appreciates it very much. They speak very highly of you. And they know it was a challenging time given this COVID experience. So I really embrace your recommendation to dissolve the PIG committee because I think it actually will accelerate our work in getting what needs to be done for Waiahole. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
A question, Chair, for Dean. Dean, do you have any estimate of when Townscape will complete its revisions to their plan?
We got a draft maybe late last year. Funding for the contract is almost extended. I think what might happen is we'll just have to pick up the plan that they give us and perhaps complete it in-house. So I can't give you a firm date, but I anticipate that we can get it done this year.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Anything else for Dean? If not, I just want to, I guess, mention that the PIG, the permitted interaction group, will now be dissolved as the scope of the PIG has evolved beyond its original purpose. Staff will continue to work with the community to resolve issues relating to the infrastructure, lease, rent, and compliance, and agricultural productions. Any further action items or updates relating to Waiahole Valley will be provided at future meetings of the board of directors. So yeah, we will disband the permitted action group. Yes.
Mr. Chair, checking, do we need a motion to do that, or can we just make the announcement? I just want to do that if whatever you're.
I guess
Director McCartney, it's at the prerogative of the chair. The chair can
Oh.
do that unilaterally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Yeah, since I think it's in the best interest that we dissolve it, we should just dissolve it. All right. If there's nothing else for that item, let's move on to item number 5. Findings and recommendations of the Hawaii Housing Finance Development Corporation Leasehold Policy Subcommittee, Permitted Action Group.
Morning, Chair, members of the board. Lorna Komitani with the Real Estate Services section. I am pleased to report the findings and recommendations of the Leasehold Policy Subcommittee. The report you have before you is quite detailed, so I would like to summarize and what the subcommittee found and are recommending. The Leasehold Subcommittee was created in response to the information on the Waimanalo Village project in December 2018, and more so, the public testimony received from members and supporters of the community. Details are attached as Exhibit C of the report. Community members asked the board for the opportunity to purchase the lease fee interest in the land, to consider a long-term lease of 75 years, and to look at the various types of leases that make up the Waimanalo Village community. The community is comprised of 3 projects/leases and is representative of the overall residential leasehold portfolio leases in the sense that just in one small community having 3 projects comprising of 145 leasehold lots, originally 23 lots were converted to fee simple and 122 lots remain in leasehold. On a small scale, within the 3 projects, one project has the option to purchase the fee contractually in the lease. Another project, the other 2 projects, does not have the option to purchase the land and therefore qualifies for a lease term extension going to December 31, 2055. The extension policy is outlined in Exhibit A of the report. Although the board may approve the lease fee purchase, it has happened to the Waimanalo Village 1, but as a result of the ceded land lawsuit, the option to purchase the lease fee interest in the land had expired. As a result, the legislature adopted Act 176, requiring legislative approval in order for any state land to be sold. On the broader scale, which comprises all of the 13 lots of the leasehold properties under the agency, 9 of the subdivisions with a combined 70 lots have the ability to purchase the lease fee interest. 3 subdivisions combined of 474 lots are unable to purchase the fee, and 7 subdivisions with a combined 521 lots are on ceded land. All the projects were developed and sold as affordable units with a buyback program, which has since expired. The lease terms and conditions or lease provisions vary by project in terms of lease rent and having the ability to purchase the lease fee interest. And the project is made up of lessees who want some sort of security that they can afford to remain in their current place of residence or have the ability to sell the property to purchase a larger place suitable for living. The Leasehold Subcommittee was tasked with reviewing the agency's current policies and recommend possible modifications intended to preserve affordability, provide fair and equitable lease terms for all, and to cover HHFDC's cost to manage the leasehold portfolio. Deliberations centered around key issues, which is listed on the page 2 of the report. And the results of the recommendations are summarized on page 6 of the report, which is basically to establish a new policy that is fair and equitable to all, adds value and security for current and future generations, and will not force lessees out of their home. It is also designed to establish a long-term lease for 99 years with a fixed rent for the initial 55 years based on common practice and covers HHFDC administrative costs. Standardized lease provisions to effectively manage and enforce the lease based on current laws and regulations and policies, prevent speculation, and maintain property values. I'd like to thank the subcommittee members for their patience and commitment towards providing a standardized leasehold policy. Subcommittee members are available for comments, questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board? Because this is just an update. Yeah, there's no action for this, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make mention. Thanks staff for all the hard work that they've done on this. This is really a lot of work that needs to be done or was done already. But is there anything else? No. Thank you. Moving on to item 5. I guess the report from the executive director.
Aloha and good morning, board members. Happy New Year. Denise Useri Matsubara for HHFDC. At this time, I did want to share an update on HAF. That's the Homeownership Assistance Fund Program. So Sam Iona, are you there to provide a short, brief update on HAF?
Yes, thank you. So the HAF is called the Homeownership Assistance Fund Program. And last year, the Congress appropriated $9.9 billion for this program to assist homeowners who have difficulty paying their mortgages due to the pandemic. So Hawaii got $50 million. BNF is the recipient. So BNF is getting the monies and they're administering the funds, giving it out to the various counties. So Kauai County and Hawaii County have already started pilot programs for the HAF program. Hawaii Community Lending is the contractor that is administering the programs on those counties. Maui County is still working on trying to get their plans together, finding a department that's going to run the program. But here on Oahu, Mayor Blangiardi already decided to give up the funds. And so HHFDC was tasked with administering the funds for the county of Honolulu. So we got $29 million from the HAF funds to run the program. We did a selection process at RFP and selected Council of Native Hawaiian Advancements, Council for Native Hawaiian Advancements, or CNHA. So CNHA is going to be launching this program this Monday, and they did the city's rental relief program as well. And I want to let you know that CNHA is, because they did the rental relief program, they think that the funds will be used really quickly. The $29 or $25 million of funding. They seem to think that we're going to be using it because the need is there. So the demand is there, so it'll be out quickly. I want to say that I want to thank Holly Osumi and her fiscal staff. They did such a good job of getting the monies out quickly. CNHA has already gotten their startup advanced funding as well. In talking to them, and Director McCartney, this is for you, that CNHA said they've never seen an agency work so quickly like HHFDC did in getting the procurement out, getting the contract out. They got their monies. And so kudos to everyone involved with this program. Janice Takahashi, who retired last year, but she helped out and things ran really smoothly and quickly. And so thank you to everybody that's involved. Crystal Tabangankura for doing the RFP process as well. So hopefully we're going to start Monday, and homeowners that were affected will get some help through this program being administered by CNHA, run through HHFDC with BNF's assistance. And I can take any questions.
Any questions, board members? If not, thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Welcome.
I did want to make a little bit of a clarity there. In our meetings with Treasury, Will Corbett from Treasury did share that unlike the ERA program, the HAF program is really not about getting the funds out quickly. The whole point is about connecting homeowners to housing counseling services and they want to see effective and efficient use of the very limited funds. The total is only 50 million for the entire state. That's in comparison to over 300 million in the rent relief funds. And so it really doesn't mean getting mortgage delinquencies paid. They stress it's more about helping homeowners getting the delinquency resolved. So I just wanted to make that clarity that Treasury just made for us in their conference the other day. So thanks, Sam.
And then one more thing, the maximum that a homeowner can receive, the maximum is $30,000. We don't expect that, that will go out to every homeowner. In fact, CNH is estimating that they'll be helping thousands of homeowners, and exactly what Director Matsubara says, that they're going to go through this waterfall loss mitigation process. When you apply, you go straight to counseling, and if they can help you with loan modification or helping you to avert foreclosures, they're going to do that first. And so, sort of, I don't want to say last resort, but Denise is right. We're not going to just be giving out checks. They're going to go through this whole process to assist them in their financing before they just cut checks. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, the other bit of information and news is out of our finance branch. I don't know if Chris Oakes is on. He can be on camera or if he's listening, but the finance branch recently formed a LIHTC developers working group. Their first meeting was yesterday, and the whole purpose of this work group is to foster communication and collaboration and two-way feedback on our programs and processes. There were about 15 participants and included all the major developers, including Stanford Carr, Doug Bigley, Makani Maeva from Ahe Group, Dave Nakamura from Mutual Housing, Karen Seddon, who moved over from Michael's group to now EAH Housing, Elton Wong of the Kobayashi Group, Jeremy McCumber from the Hawaii Island Community Development Corporation, Mo Mohana at High Ridge Costa, and also Grant Chun from Halimaha'olu. So we hope that it'll be a series of meetings, but this is going to be a new dawn. And I want to really thank Chris Oakes and his team in the finance branch for a wonderful meeting yesterday. The other thing, since we're heading into the new legislative session, I did want to introduce to you Cynthia Nairos. Cynthia, are you there? We want to welcome her and introduce her to the board. She joins us from the governor's office. But prior to that, she was the chief of staff for the Housing Committee chair in the House under Rep. Tom Brower. So she's very well known at the legislature and knows her way around that building and how to navigate. So welcome, and thank you so much for joining us, Cynthia.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So board members, that kind of concludes my report. Happy to take any questions. Again, thank you all so much for your continued support. Really couldn't have gotten through last year without your tremendous support. We're going to now embark on another federal program that is really outside of our lane and our core mission. But when called upon, HHFDC always tries to step up to the plate. So thank you so much for your support, board.
Thanks, Denise. I think we're gonna have to add like stuff to our core because they just throw stuff at us, huh? But thanks for all your hard work, and yeah, those are some actually well-needed programs. So
thank you. Thanks, Chair.
So can I get a motion to adjourn? No, you guys want to keep on meeting?
Mr. Chair, this is Mike McCartney, and first of all, I would just want to apologize for my name as it's printed. I mean, I really am a baboos, but I didn't respect to HHFDC or the staff, and I didn't know how to get it off before the Zoom meeting. So I'll make sure for the record that that was my fault and maybe not appropriate for this meeting. So I want to apologize for that. But that's me, not you. And then, so with that, I want to make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Mike. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Gary. If any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
everybody.
Bye.